scared Carol a little earlier when I asked for the PowerPoint and a bunch of number 2 pencils to hand out. Because there will be a test after. I'm stunned. I can't thank you enough. I have to thank the MAB Board of Directors and everybody on this committee that made this selection. What everybody needs to know is I've been on that committee and I've seen the resumes and the compilations of every other candidate in there. And for me to be considered in the honor is just absolutely stunning to me. I have to thank Chuck Ganser. He's not here tonight, but he's a dear friend and colleague from Northern Michigan who made the original application. And I'm just so tickled by this. This video was assembled by my senior graduate assistant, Ben Record. And I mentioned to him, have fun, but remember that I still have to sign off on your diplomas. I think he'll pass, but I have to say I was kind of stunned by much of this. So also thank Carol, Jennifer, Mary, Tom, and especially Julie Sochet at the MAB for just a wonderful organization and giving me the opportunity to work with you over the years. At my table here, obviously my mom, my dad, and my sister. What a tremendous deal. My dad taught me how to work. My mom taught me how to think. I can't thank you enough for that. With me, my dear friend, the President of Texas, University of Texas, Jim Spaniolo, Sue. Patricia is here, my adopted daughter, Lindsay, Dean at her college, and Whitten, and a dear friend, Scott Westerman, the Vice President of Alumni Relations. What a tremendous group to be with. I'm also connected to the other people that have been at this podium. Glenn, we don't know each other, but you are my new best friend. A couple of years ago, Pat and I decided to put an addition on the house, and I decided I was going to do a lot of the work myself. As you were speaking, she said, you need to be friends with him. I keep telling her, sweetheart, I'm cheap, not fast. And Mac, we go back well over 40 years. In high school, I was invited to a concert at Eastern Michigan University. My girlfriend took me up and we went to a college apartment. And I didn't find out for many, many years that my girlfriend's elder brother was Mac's roommate. And so we had a hell of a time. I think it was the Strawberry Alarm Clock was the concert. Some of you may remember that. And Chuck, what an elegant person Chuck is, but most importantly is his lovely wife Trudy, who was a student of mine early on. And so for us to be meeting again at this point is just absolutely tremendous. I've seen many of these speeches, attended many of these events over the years. I'm nearly just amazed to even be here. I know I'm not as interesting as Bill Wands. I'm not as poised as Jerry Hodak. I'm certainly not as funny as Sonny Elliott years ago. And I can't be as gracious or humble as my dear friend Ross Biederman and Tom Bryson. The dear Jerry Colvin, Dick Somerville, Carl Lee, all these gentlemen that I've had an opportunity to work with on the MAB Foundation. But they've all given me opportunity, and you've given me tremendous opportunities here. I have to go back to Fred Jacobs, who you saw predominantly. Fred is the reason I'm here. I was in college. I was playing rock and majoring in girls. Fred and Larry were my teachers in the course that I have been teaching now for 35 years. Fred said, you need to apply to grad school. Okay, I applied. They turned me down. They actually said, and I have it, by the way, improbable degree of success. Now, I have to tell you that at the time they were right. And that faculty member became a very dear friend before his passing. And that meant a lot to me. But Fred believed in me, Larry Eslak believed in me, and they gave me the opportunity. I also have, you saw some of the engineering aspects. There was a tremendous engineer by the name of Don Kemp who worked at WKR-TV. And Don was getting of the age where he didn't want to work nights. So he told me one evening before he left the studio, whatever you do, don't do this. And I went, okay. And he left, went home. I did that. And I began to panic. And all I could remember was Don say, whatever you do, don't do X, because it's virtually impossible to get off. It's virtually impossible to fix. I needed to fix it because it was a young cellist, some of you may know by the name of Yo-Yo Ma. And I'd screwed up his tape. And in those days, it was one take and that was it. So Don told me it's virtually impossible. That meant it's possible if I could figure it out. Later on, I happened to work in the music industry, and I was working in a club one night, and a blues artist by the name of Muddy Waters came in, and we did 2 shows at that time. And the first show went great, perfect. Those of you from a technical background, radio background, I took the master fader, marked it, pulled it down. I was in heaven. Next show I can enjoy. Next show started, 10 o'clock show started, moved that fader back up right to where it was, and all of a sudden it was a problem. Muddy was giving me, all these faces from the stage, and I was starting to panic. How can this be? The first show was great. Nothing's changed. And it got worse and it got worse. And Muddy started yelling at me from the stage. Finally, at about the 3rd or 4th song, he stopped the whole thing. He said, hey man, if you can't get it together, we're done. Well, by this point, I had gone from 5'10" to about 2'3", peeking over top of the console. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was wrong. And I had to rely on my background that Fred taught me, that Larry taught me, and Don taught me, and go back and redo it. Some years later, I guess I should finish this. What had happened is Muddy had been playing poker with the rest of the band during the break, and he lost a boatload, so he was just pissed. Some years later, I was teaching and working at a bunch of TV stations, and I thought I knew what was going on. And I had the opportunity, through a student, to meet Walter Cronkite on his set shortly before he retired. And as we watched, I realized that Walter's tie was undone and his coat was off and his glasses were down and he was chewing gum. And as we moved into the control room, I began to panic. It was 6:29 after all. Less than a minute. Walter's still writing away. And all of a sudden, it's 6:20 or 6:29:30. And now I'm really panicked. I'm really scared. How can this happen? 6:29:45. Walter slowly starts to do his tie-up. Pulls his coat up. Now I'm literally panicked. I can't believe I'm watching this. And at 6:29:57, one hand took the glasses off, another hand took the gum out of his mouth. Good evening from New York. I had never seen something that well executed before. And I thought I knew what was going on. And then later I met Jim Quello, and I was able to work with Jim while I was at WJR and through all his years at the FCC. And I began to realize that when you're given an opportunity to learn something, whether it's from making a mistake or whether it's from watching the experts, you need to listen. You need to spend a lot more time listening and learning than you do talking. Many of these people that you've seen up on the screen here, and two of my dear friends that are here tonight, Patrick Ciccone and Gary McGregor, I'm now their student. Patrick has mixed over 160 films. Gary has sound supervised on numerous TV shows. Everybody in this room has seen and heard their work. I go out a couple of times a year to California, and I learn from them. I'm their student at this point. Don Gagne, our White House correspondent, Nikki Shumanato in Chicago. I learn from them. That's the process that we really need to take away. I'm a firm believer in free over-the-air broadcasting, not only from a teacher standpoint, but also from a broadcasting standpoint. Content matters. Content is extremely important. As driving down here this morning, we tune in Roberta Jacina, News and Traffic together on the 8s. Roberta is a former student. I talked to my dad, who's here tonight. My father, what a wonderful man, had cataract surgery this morning. He said to me earlier, "My God, I didn't know your beard had gone gray." So I guess the surgery worked. But my dad and I talk about the latest Gecko commercial all the time. Commercials matter. Content is important. We talk about Diana Lewis. We talk about Chuck Stokes. And we do need to know what happened to Eric Smith. So those are the important things. What we do as broadcasters is important. What we say on the air is important. You've given me marvelous opportunities, and the only way that I can pay Fred back, that I can pay any of you back at the MAB, is to pass those opportunities along to the students. Many students today have different views than perhaps we did. We think of the students perhaps as being the iPod generation, the Facebook generation, the Twitter generation. But I have to tell you that when given the opportunity, and I think we've tried to give them at Michigan State, they've succeeded. And I have a table over here of some of the most talented, most sophisticated young people that I've ever had the opportunity to work with. What a tremendous group of people. Ben Rickard, the fellow that put this video together, his thesis, by the way, is on the managerial, financial, operational, and legal aspects of web streaming for radio stations. That's his thesis project. If somebody in this room doesn't hire him, that's your problem. Someone will get him, and he's great. The opportunities are tremendous. I have to just thank everybody that's involved. Tom Bender, a good friend of mine, Jennifer Williams, just hired Annie, one of our most recent graduates. They're giving her an opportunity, and thank you to that. On behalf of all of the educators here, whether it's my friends Bill Keith, Pete Bowers, Dave Downing, Dick Kernan, Rick Sykes, Pete Orlick, and all the other teachers, I just have to thank you very, very much for everything that you've done to us and done for us. This has been a tremendous opportunity for me. The only way that I've been able to pay it back is to pay it forward. And thank you to Patrick, to Fred, to Scott, to Jim, my mom and dad, and to Pam for believing in me. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Before we let you return to your seat, we have Tony Baltimore here. Tony is the Director of External Affairs for Congressman Mike Rogers and is here on behalf of the Congressman to make a special presentation.
You all clap. It is really indeed a pleasure to be here at this auspicious occasion, recognizing all of these winners. Congratulations to all of you. I've come in contact with many of you, Chuck, whether it's interviewing the congressman or Mac with stations in our district. Thank you very much for keeping those alive and well and welcoming us when you come to the station. And then Glenn, I don't know you, but it's good to know you. You put Congress and toilet paper in the same sentence, so we must be tapping our phones sometimes with our constituents say. But really, I'm here on behalf of Congressman Rogers to honor Gary Reid. Gary, it sounded like you were up here rehearsing for the Oscars. You got those names down pretty good, but it is really good to be here. I want to say good evening, and I would like to acknowledge Carol and the Board of Directors of MAB and its members. This has really been a wonderful night. Congressman Mike Rogers is in our nation's capital, and he sends his regrets. Many of you know that Mike became chairman of the permanent Select House Committee on Intelligence, so his duties keep him very busy these days. But the 8th Congressional District is in, Michigan State University is in the 8th Congressional District. And we are happy that Gary is part of that family, whether at MSU or the 8th Congressional District. Carol called me and she said, Tony, we're giving the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I said, thank you. Come on. Somebody open the bar back. There was a pause and she said, no, it's not for you or Mike, but it's for Gary Reid. And the congressman sends a note that I will read. We are said that we sort of look alike. He's a little lighter than I am. But I would like to read this in his words, so you can either close your eyes and think he is up here, or you can just look at me. I'd like to congratulate my friend Gary Reid on receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Michigan Association of Broadcasters. It is the most prestigious award that the MAB can bestow upon an individual. Only 22 such awards have ever been presented. He certainly has earned it. A couple of years ago, I had the honor of recognizing Gary in the Congressional Record. Under his stewardship, Impact 89 FM was named the College Radio Station of the Year by the Michigan Association of Broadcasters and BMI. At the time, the station had received the honor 9 out of 10 years. It has now received the prestigious award for the past 10 years straight. That is an incredible achievement, and it is no wonder why the station is one of the most successful college stations in the country. It's worth noting that Gary had produced the weekly radio address for Governor Jennifer Granholm since 2005, a task for which he was highly honored when the project was complete. I can't let the fact that he was inducted into the Michigan Broadcasting Hall of Fame in 2007 go unmentioned either. I worked at a college radio station at my own school in Adrian. Thanks, Julie Kane. You can. So I have enormous respect for Gary's professionalism and skill set. In the ever-evolving world of broadcasting, he has enabled thousands of students to go on to successful careers throughout the country. Harry Carey said, I know it is the fans that are responsible for me being here. I've always tried each and every broadcast to serve the fans to the best of my ability, and I know you have too, Gary. So with that, I would just like to offer my admiration for Gary Reid's accomplishment and steadfast in leadership. Again, congratulations and have a great night. Signed, Mike Rogers, Member of Congress. Thank you.